Yo, what's going on, everybody? Gabriel Santos here from gfsantos.com. I got a nice little navy beanie on. Just finished running at the gym. I am tired, but it's been a couple weeks since I made a video, and I have some interesting news to share, and I'll just get right to it. So last Sunday I smoked weed, and I smoked weed from Sunday through Friday pretty much, and it was totally out of integrity, totally not part of my plan, totally me going through a rough time, so to speak, especially emotionally and psychologically, and me deciding that, you know what, being stoned is something that I feel like would help me right now. And I think one thing I want to get straight away is that totally went against, the things that I've been teaching on this channel. Not against, but that is the exact moment, that moment of running away from what's going on. And actually, there's actually a compassionate teaching point. And that point being, fucking sometimes you're in a spot in your life, especially on the inside, where you don't know what to do. And sometimes the best solution you can come to is to just smoke some weed. And, for a lot of people, that's not a big issue. What's the big deal? Smoke some weed, People binge watch Netflix, people smoke weed, people, take naps. And what I want to get clear is that whole phenomenon is not even a big deal, but for someone who makes it such a big emphasis that smoking weed is a problem for them, even if smoking weed is somewhat of a relief tool in certain moments, it's easy to freak out and be like, wow, I'm the worst, Anyways, going back to what I was saying, I totally smoked weed, guys, and what I learned from that experience is a couple things. One, that the real solution isn't to smoke weed. The real solution is to get some emotional support. And for me personally, I've actually had I've always had a little bit of a hesitation to ask other people for help, especially emotional support, for various reasons, whether it's because I feel like I don't want to bother someone, I don't want to be a burden to someone, or I feel like I won't be given the necessary emotional space to be listened to and to share my feelings, and especially really sad ones, dark ones. But long story short, what I learned is that it is impossible to be perfect. It is impossible to be in the zone 100% of the time every day. And for me, I would actually freak out when all of a sudden I'm not performing at a high level. And then I start to feel behind, and then I start to beat myself up, and then I start to question myself, like, what the fuck? And then I start to stress out, and then I start to really beat myself up even more, and I get in my head. And that's when I usually start eating fast food. That's when I start usually smoking weed, because I just don't know what to do. And that's the time to ask for help and be like, yo, like, I'm freaking out. And then people who love you will be like, yo, don't worry, like, this is all good, like, you're good, like, take a break, you don't need to be perfect. And that really takes the pressure off. You know what I'm saying? That really takes the pressure off, and I could see things straight. And so I think what I want you to take away from this is that consider that the reason you smoke weed, even though you know it's probably not the best thing, is because you're probably going through something. And for some compassion, maybe it's a blessing that you chose to smoke weed instead of smoke crack. It's a blessing that you decided to. You're just doing your best, You're just doing your best. And another thing I want you guys to know is that, like, this whole weed addiction thing, it's not about the weed. I'm using this as my metaphor for weed. It's not about the weed. It's about you. Like, it's about you. It's about how you're doing. It's about your emotional well-being. It's about your happiness. It's about yourself, and the life that you want to live. And it's sometimes hard to, live the life that you say you want to live. And it's sometimes, like, smoking weed is your go-to because you don't know how to move forward. And so I guess another one of the messages of this video is, if you find yourself smoking weed, consider that that's not a mistake, and that you're not fucking up, and that there's something deeper on the inside that you don't know how to deal with, and so you go to weed because that's the best solution you have. And it kind of sucks because that goes against what you're up to, which is to not smoke weed, right? Or to have control or whatever. And it's all good, man. It's all good. It's not about being perfect. It's not about, like, feeling like ashamed, like, it's all good. Like, and that said, as I've said in previous videos, just admit to yourself that you want to smoke weed right now and you want to do nothing. And at the same time, there is going to be a point where you're going to have to get off if you want to feel better, really, really better. And take the time you need, and then as soon as possible, when you're ready, know that the only way it's going to get better is when you take that full day off of smoking weed and saying no again. Because deep down you know that being stoned is actually a reverse. It has you go backwards, not forwards, even though it's helping you at the moment. It's going to have you go backwards. And it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's just weed. Okay, you're doing the best you can. And shout out to all the new subscribers. Shout out to everyone commenting. I'm sorry as fuck, guys, for not being there for the last 2 weeks. Just know that I was going through something personally, and that I'm not perfect. And this whole journey with weed addiction has much less to do with weed and more so to do with you and your growth and your emotional well-being. Alright, guys? Anyways, good to be back. Happy to see y'all. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.